What about the seventh commandment? Is this broken? With mistletoe and parties, I'd say that this is physically broken. But do we break it spiritually? At this time of year, are we committing spiritual adultery? What about not stealing? Do we steal time and money that could be used in missionary work or helping the poor? Do we steal time that could be used in studying our Bibles? And what about lying? Do we promulgate the lie that Santa exists? Do we lie and say that Christmas is a Christian holiday? And to end it, do we covet things that we don't have? So we see that Christmas breaks every one of the 10 Commandments, and more reasons why could be listed. But if it breaks every one of the 10 Commandments, can we truthfully call it a Christian holiday? As Abraham Lincoln said, calling a sheep's tail a lake doesn't make it so. We can say Christmas is a Christian holiday all we want to, but it doesn't make it Christian. Although the description of those slain, the two witnesses, symbolizing the Old and New Testaments, is not a prophetic description specific to this holiday, it does demonstrate a historical connection between the practice of making merry and giving gifts and a celebration of blatant rebellion against God. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them, and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwell on the earth. An article from a 1900 paper stated the following: when we remember that the establishment of Christianity by Constantine was the paganizing of the church, and learn of the heathen festival to the sun, which was celebrated the last days in December, we can see that Christmas is wholly pagan in its origin, and that it has no sacredness whatever. To keep it as a sacred day, or holy day, therefore is as much a sin as to disregard a day which is sacred. That is, to presume to sanctify a day which God has not sanctified, shows as much contempt for his authority as to treat as common a day which he has sanctified. And this one quote summarizes what we have learned. Thus it is that Christmas Day, the celebration of the day, and the appurtenances thereto, are all heathen and only relics of sun worship. We need to be careful because, as one person said, figs do not grow from thistles, and Christianity is not an offshoot of paganism. When therefore the Church adopted heathen customs, it is not difficult to tell exactly what it to that extent becomes. God says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing that thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children." Now you have the knowledge, but it's your choice whether or not to listen. In the first half of this DVD set, we have seen that many of our holidays are pagan in origin and were originally feasts to the gods of the pagan nations. Warnings against mixing heathen practices with Christianity reverberate throughout the Holy Scripture. 1 Corinthians 10:21 says, "Ye cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils. Ye cannot be partakers of the Lord's table and of the table of devils." A good example of taking a pagan god and declaring its feast to the Lord is found in the story of the golden calf. The Bible tells us, "And Aaron said unto them, Break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, of your sons, and of your daughters, and bring them unto me. And all the people brake off the golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them unto Aaron. And he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with a graving tool, after he had made it a molten calf, And they said, These be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it. And Aaron made a proclamation and said, Tomorrow is a feast to the Lord. And they rose up early on the morrow, and offered burnt offerings, and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat, and to drink, and rose up to play. Aaron attributed to the calf what had been done by God. Not only did he attribute the works of God to this idol, but he declared the festival of this pagan god a feast to the Lord. The fact that this heathen festival was supposedly dedicated to God did not change God's opinion of it at all. God considers the customs of the heathens abominable. In the book of Leviticus, God told Israel, And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord. Therefore shall ye keep mine ordinance, that ye commit not any one of these abominable customs, which were committed before you, and that ye defile not yourselves therein. I am the Lord your God. In light of this, whenever we follow traditions not ordained in the Word of God, it would be well to learn where the custom came from. Let's find the origin of some more holidays and their customs. There really is a beginning to the new year, so this holiday couldn't have pagan origins, could it? Or maybe it does. To discover where this holiday and its traditions originated, we will have to travel back in history. Different New Year's customs had their origin in various cultures. Our New Year's practice of making resolutions and breaking them has its origin in the ancient civilization of Babylon. Babylon was the first to adopt the practice of setting resolutions and judging by human nature. It's probable that they were also the first to break them. We read in the Bible, Better is it that thou shouldest not vow than that thou shouldest vow and not pay. The ancient Greeks celebrated a new year, and it is from them that Baby New Year came. The Greeks paraded a baby in a basket at the start of the new year to represent the spirit of fertility. Hence the modern New Year symbols of a newborn baby picturing the coming year, and an elderly man winding up the old year. Then we come to the ancient Romans, where several of our modern New Year's practices and symbols originated. In 46 BC, the Roman Emperor Julius Caesar first established January 1 as New Year's Day. Janus was the Roman god of doors and gates, and had two faces, one looking forward and one back. Caesar felt that the month named after this god, January, would be the appropriate door to the year. Caesar celebrated the first January 1 New Year by ordering the violent routing of revolutionary Jewish forces in the Galilee. Eyewitnesses say blood flowed in the streets. In later years, Roman pagans observed the New Year by engaging in drunken orgies, a ritual they believed constituted a personal reenacting of the chaotic world that existed before the cosmos was ordered by the gods. The ancient Romans celebrated the festival Saturnalia. The first day of the Saturnalia shifted during the lifetime of Rome. It began around the middle of December and continued until January 1st. In its midst was December 25th, the day as the Romans calculated when the sun was at its lowest ebb. Although a good portion of the practices of Saturnalia were transferred to the Christmas holiday, some can be found in the New Year celebration. Saturnalia was the birthday celebration of Saturn, the lord of death. At Saturnalia in the Roman amphitheater, gladiator shows took place. In the book The Two Babylons we read that gladiator shows were sacred to Saturn, and that gladiators fought on the Saturnalia, and they did so for the purpose of appeasing and propitiating Saturn. The dead gladiators were considered human sacrifices to Saturn. Today we find the games are still a large focus at this time of year. Here is what one educational instructor said of what might be the modern counterpart of the ancient Roman games. Some of the most popular amusements, such as football and boxing, have become schools of brutality. They are developing the same characteristics as did the games of ancient Rome. The love of domination, the pride in mere brute force, the reckless disregard of life, are exerting upon the youth a power to demoralize that is appalling. Some may consider the football and other games around this time of year to be innocent fun. After all, Unlike the gladiator games, these are just a game. But do these games create a lack of respect for human life? Could these games be giving the greatest human sacrifice, the human mind, to Saturn, the Lord of Death?
I used to work with a bunch of guys that like to watch football and car racing and lots of different kinds of sports. And one weekend after they had had some sort of football game, he came to work. He was just furious, and he was stomping around all day, and he was ranting and raving about what an awful decision the coach had made for this football team that was his favorite football team. And he was just furious, and he said, if I had a gun in my hand, I'd hunt that guy down and kill him.
Aside from the fact that the games create a lack of respect for human life, are they also worship of the devil? The Super Bowl games have much in common with the Rose Bowl game, held on New Year's, although at the present time they are held in closer connection with the occult holiday of Imbolc. Although nothing new, this year, 2012, the Super Bowl's halftime show had some more blatant connections to occult worship in several of the ancient pagan nations. Madonna was the performer for the halftime show, and she wore on her head a horned crown. This resembles the horned headdress worn by Ishtar, the goddess of fertility. You can also see the ancient Roman and Egyptian symbolisms. Among other occult symbolisms, an all-seeing eye was projected onto the stage. Interestingly, Ishtarte was known as the eye goddess. The Egyptian goddess Ma'at also is said to have originally possessed the all-seeing eye, which later was transferred to Horus. Madonna's show ends with a dramatic final movement. As Madonna sings the words, "I hear you call my name and it feels like home," the floor opens up and she falls. Obviously, this is in honor of the devil. Was this his invitation to the Super Bowl held in his honor? Could this have been a worship service? A week before the Super Bowl, Madonna described on Anderson Cooper the spiritual importance she attributed to her halftime show. The Super Bowl is kind of like the Holy of Holies in America. I'll come at halfway of the church experience, and I'm gonna have to deliver a sermon. It'll have to be very impactful. Are the games really a worship of heathen deities? Do we still honor Saturn with gladiator games and fables at this time of year? Another name for Saturn is Kronos, and another name for Kronos is Father Time. Kathy Burns says, Kronos is the old man that is leaving the old year behind, and the baby crawling, or bringing the new year, is the rebirth of the god. The Bible gives us advice on whether playing around with the worship of Saturn is good or bad. Robert McCoy, a Masonic writer, says, that Baal was the Saturn of Greece and Rome. In Jeremiah, worship of Baal is classed with stealing, murder, adultery, and swearing falsely. Will ye steal, murder, and commit adultery, and swear falsely, and burn incense unto Baal, and walk after other gods whom ye know not? Perhaps this is because all of these sins were part of Baal worship, and many of them seem to be just as much a part of our modern New Year's celebration. Morality is not known to be a major part of our modern New Year's parties, but rather immoral behavior. Many are killed in car accidents by drunk drivers, victims or human sacrifices to the spirits. People make New Year's resolutions knowing that they will break them. All this is only modern Baal worship. Why do people think the New Year's celebration is necessary for us to celebrate? A book on making the holidays special states this. During some holiday seasons, I would say I believe holiday traditions are positively essential for our mental health. That has to be true of New Year's. Following Christmas as closely as it does, it helps to alleviate some of the letdown you feel after the big day. If you feel let down by something, is it of God? Does Jesus Christ let his people down? Or might it be the pleasures of sin, which are for a season?